I'm gonna start this video at the house. It's Sunday. What is today? The 23rd of January. Got some snow today in Ohio. This is a major occurrence. We call this White Death because nobody around here seems to remember that this is the way it used to be when I was younger. So anyway, neighbor Carl had to make fun because the dually's all covered in snow. His truck is nice and toasty in his barn. Neighbor John was nice enough to look over and see that the trailer's sitting outside and offer to put it in his barn where I keep a couple of my mulings. I really appreciate that. It's a very nice gesture. My wife was just on me that we need to figure out barn space. I got the loader off of the Ford, so it's in the barn, which means poor little Jetstar 66 loader tractors relegated to being outside. So go inside and I'll show you what I've been working on today. So on the Ford 1600, I got it in here. This is what she looks like with the hood up. Can't get the hood up with the loader on. Not a great design if you need to do anything to the engine. I thought I could plug these two lines here in order to move it in here. That made the hydraulic pump squeal because it takes a continual flow between there. So I just took one of the hose off of the loader and made a loop there. So I was able to get it in here. I got it in here, kind of looked it over, checked everything once the hood was up. I talked to my buddy's brother who had this, and he said that it wasn't water in the oil that he was having trouble with. It was moisture in the hydraulics, which I'm going to guess is condensation. He said that he was having to put water in every couple hours of use. So, but there, I hit the drain plug down here, and all I got out of it was oil. Put a pressure tester on the radiator. I had no external water leak. When I started it after doing that, I had a lot of white smoke. I'm guessing it needs a head gasket. So my next thing I'm gonna do with this is do some reading tonight because I've never messed with one of these Fords, but it looks pretty straightforward. 2-cylinder diesel. I'll have to take the radiator. Looks like this is the thermostat housing, the exhaust off, undo the air cleaner on that side, take out the injectors, and then, you know, the head will just lift off, and I'll take it up to, and probably before I do that, I'm going to put the pressure tester back on it, put some pressure on it, and then when I take it apart, just see if I have any antifreeze on top of the pistons. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but in my mind, that would show me that the head gasket's leaking a little bit there. And go from there. So good news is there's not water in the oil. It's probably just leaking a little bit of antifreeze into the pistons when it's running, and it's burning it out the exhaust, and that's why it's getting low. It does have an oil leak up here, and it looks like it's going to be the crank seal. I'm going to have to talk to my buddy and see if he wants me to go that far. I'm going to doubt that he's going to. He's not going to use this thing a whole lot, and there's just a lot of things. There's fuel filter that you can't see into. I need to, again, I wish I could have power washed this thing before I brought it in here so I could see what I have better, but it is what it is, and it's really cold, so that wasn't a possibility. So there you can see where the bottom of the head is, so it won't be too bad to take that apart and, you know, get the valves gone through, and just hopefully that solves the problems. Clean the injectors. That's one thing that I don't know that it's probably ever been done on this tractor, but I'll take the injectors out, throw them in the sonic cleaner, and check them. The glow plugs do work. They get hot, but it still doesn't make it start any easier. So I'm guessing that probably if I clean up the injectors and all that, we'll see if we can get it to start easier. The battery is from 2018, so it's not terrible old, but I'll have to check with him, see if he wants to put a new one in there before I seal this thing back up and put the loader back on. The loader wasn't too bad coming off. It was just 3 bolts on each side back here, and then there were a couple bolts up here. The one thing that now that it's off that I found is, if you can see, that weld is broken. So we'll clean all that up and re-weld that. I need to check the other side to make sure that it's not broken. And so we'll get that fixed too before we're all said and done. So that's kind of where we are on that project. So we'll do some reading tonight on, make sure I'm not missing anything before I start pulling apart the engine. But had this thing in here running for about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes today. And yeah, I have a little bit of a headache. It's just loud 2-cylinder. So that's kind of where I'm at today. I am going to hook up the rear splitting stand. So I'll put that on here, and then maybe the front one. I got to check with my machine shop guy and see when he's going to get me my blocks and heads back. And if it's not going to be for a while, I'm going to go ahead and split the propane, get in there, check out the clutch, and then get working on finding a amplitorque and lever and everything, and putting all that back in, since it was removed from this tractor at some point for some unknown reason. All right, I'm back working on the Ford 1600 2-cylinder diesel. So I've kind of lost track of when I stopped filming, because there's been a little gap between, and you guys will see it here as I splice everything together. But took the head off, took it to the machine shop, found that it was very warped, or pretty warped, and that's a hard thing to do when you have a small head like that. So at some point it's got very hot. This has a new water pump on it, so I'm going to guess that at some point the water pump went out and it got really hot. So I got the head back. Last night I put it on, new head gasket, torqued it down. I put new radiator hoses on. The other ones I believe were original. I changed the oil in the injection pump. What was off, or while I had everything apart, I also put a new oil pressure sender in there that was broken. Kind of gone through. I sonic cleaned the injectors, and one of the things I did to kind of make this thing easier to work on is when the loader's on, the loader brackets here, it goes across, this hood tilts forward. Well, you can't do that when the loader's on. So you really can't get to anything on the engine or the battery or anything when the hood's on. So it had bolts in it. So I took the bolts out, I put clevis pins in. You can kind of see on the other side there with the cotter pin, so that when the loader's on, if you want, you can pull the cotter pin, slide out the pins, and lift the hood straight off and be able to access the engine, the battery, whatever you need to, without having to go through the rigmarole of trying to reach around the loader to take the bolts out of that. So it's just something I looked at and I'm like, I think I can make that a little bit better. I'm sure when they designed it, they weren't thinking about putting a loader on it. I did also spray, I just rattle canned the head after they had worked on it. It was just bare metal. So I put primer and paint on it just to keep it from rusting. Putting a new battery in it while I've got it down to this. I checked the gear oil in the back, the hydraulic fluid, I had to put some in there, and then also it takes 80-90 in the steering gearbox, so I filled that up the other day. And then also this filter for the fuel, it was so clouded up you couldn't see in there. When I took it apart, what I realized is that there was no filter in there. So I put a filter in, I cleaned that all up, got that set up. kind of gone through and tightened some bolts down and done some different work just to try to get this thing where it needs to be before I start putting it back together. So tonight I want to put the rockers back on, get my valves adjusted. I'm going to need to put the air cleaner or the injectors back in, the glow plugs back in. I'm going to get all that back together, hopefully. I was lucky to get home from work in good enough time. I think I can get a lot of this done tonight. And then work on seeing if I get all that done, get water back in the radiator, hook up the battery. I might be able to start it, see if I can get it started tonight, bleed the injection pump, because there's going to be air all through the system, and just see where we're at. So that's where I am, and I'm going to do a little bit of work here, and then we'll come back. All right, so after a little bit of work, got the rockers on, got those torqued down where they need to be, got the valves adjusted. The valves were adjusted way too tight. Got the injectors in, and system blood. I got the glow plugs in, although I'm not sure they're working now. Bled everything, got fuel up, changed the oil, or actually just put new oil in, new filter. Did the antifreeze, put the exhaust back on, and then tried to start it. And it started, wanted to start with no glow plugs or anything, which was pretty good. I did have to hit it with just a slight bit of starting fluid just to get it to kick over, but then it ran pretty good. So that's where we're at. Kind of got her, definitely wants to kick over sooner. So I'll show you here, just give it a little bit of throttle. It's loud. So I'm done for tonight messing with it. I'll come out tomorrow and do a little more checking. I'll check my valves again, but I got good oil flow up to the rockers. Pretty happy with where it is right now. So I'll come out tomorrow and we'll see if we can get this thing done and out of here and loader hooked back up this weekend. Got Moline projects coming. That's a little teaser. Got more projects, which, yeah, just what I need. My wife's happy. All right, I'm basically done with the Ford 1600. Got everything back together, got it running good. The last thing that I'd been waiting for, I received today. So got new glow plugs that are in there. Put those in, and that should solve that issue. So it's sprinkling now, but it made it up in the upper 50s today. So I'm going to take it out and wash it just a little and try to get some of the grime off it before I take it back. But before I do that, I'll show you. It's cold because I only started it for a minute a little bit ago, but the coils in here were not glowing before when the glow plugs got warm. So I counted before when I got it started, when I just put them in, it took about 30 seconds, and you can see they're just starting to glow now. So let the glow plugs go, and then I'm pretty happy with that. Starts right up. Now it is a little warmer today, but I think even when it's cold, it'll be good. So the Ford 1600's done. I just need to put the loader back on it and move on to the next project, which a little teaser. That's an Amplitorque laying there, which is going to go into the propane. So until that video, we'll send the Ford down the road.